All right, so we are joined here by Miss Heidi Anderson.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Heidi Anderson,
Mrs.
actually.
Heidi
I'm
Anderson.
married.
What are we talking about today?
Well, so much.
Yeah.
This is, like, you're going to go on a ride with us. Like, we're going to, did any of us cry?
No,
we didn't, nearly.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we'll go to places you didn't think we were going to go. Then we'll be over
Mullaloo.
here. Like, having a laugh in one place. But today, like, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 100+ conversations.
Well, we definitely covered the confidence side of things, masking your symptoms with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, we got deep, vulnerable. We heard your story. We had talked about ghosts with our kids.
Yeah.
What else?
Little bit of
living
ego.
in Bunbury, egos, like your comedy. Like, you know, I got to psychoanalyze you as well.
And this was great because we actually had sort of like an on-air disagreement, and we were able to work through it with the.
It was a happy disagreement.
We got our
body positivity stuff. So
the punching gloves. No, we didn't. It's a healthy discussion.
Thanks to all the
Team
Patreons.
Heidi or Team Daniel.
Or Team Hi Daniel.
we do have a new Patreon to thank.
I have.
Ron Evans.
Thanks,
who's
Ron.
Hey,
Also
Ron.
the painting
Sponsoring the footy tipping comp. Thanks, Ron.
Perfect.
I love
So
that. I
cheers.
need to get onto this Patreon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to, but
Is it like OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Oh.
Basically, yeah.
that's how Delby describes it. It's
Yeah.
like OnlyFans for podcasters.
So if you want to get on, there's going to be a new episode up by the end of the week with me and Kyle Legacy. We just had a little chat yesterday for about 40 minutes.
And it's a little blurry because Delby didn't know how to record.
So me and cameras.
Big Daddy's not here to look after him.
And then this episode's brought to you by
Raunchy, the healthiest beer you can drink.
Oh, where is my raunchy beer?
There you go. We'll
What does
give
it
you
taste like?
It's actually good.
All right, let's get hard.
Stop it.
Let's get hard.
Oh, let's get hard.
Hey,
Hey.
that's it.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host.
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
This is, you know how there's one little thing that becomes a traumatic trigger.
Oh, yes. Like
So one of my, like Lizzo.
Yeah.
So like Kevin Bridges came to Perth.
Yeah.
Right? And I'd wanted to see him for ages. And he's a Scottish comedian. And it was the same night that Port versed West Coast.
Oh, and they
After the siren, Luke Shuey.
Shuey kicked the goal.
But I was like, fuck, I'm missing the final, but I've always wanted to see Kevin Bridges. And he did the whole hour I had already seen. So I went there just going, fuck, man, I've already seen this. I already know all the jokes. Like, yeah, it's enjoyable, but the Eagles are winning a game, a final after the siren.
After the siren. A final.
So-
Hey, that was 2019.
Was it the year after we won the
After
flag?
the flag,
Yeah.
we just scraped in. Yeah.
So I was like hell disappointed because I was like, oh, I thought he was bringing a new show.
Yes.
So I don't know.
But I think like when people see you on TikTok or whatever, they're only expecting like little bits, right? Because I thought that you had strong content on your Instagram.
Yeah.
But that's the content that needs to be over on TikTok all the time.
Yeah.
Because we've got that on TikTok. We've been doing that a bit.
Yeah.
With the podcast.
The
Yeah.
podcast. So I put
Are you
up
talking
like-
about my wedding stuff?
Yeah,
and
your
MC
wedding stuff.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to say, you know what works on TikTok? It's literally just like Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So like you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
doing behind the scenes stuff,
Yeah.
that's what goes really well.
Because it's the algorithms changed a little bit, and
Yeah.
our videos went from going fucking bonkers
Because
to like
it's very much
nothing.
like about, because I was like stories, just like Instagram, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty much what you want to do on TikTok right now.
Yeah.
It's like all behind the scenes and like, you know, just what feels real, like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the
Well, you're not
amateur porn. It's like, it feels real.
Because you're not being so, and I'd say this to my social media clients, like sometimes the real good quality stuff that I provide isn't
Yeah.
the best
Yes.
that you can have. Sometimes you just need to go selfie mode on the camera and show
Yeah.
a real person
Yes.
because they'll
Oh my God,
engage
I love
more.
your
And
stuff. I'm like, see, I need more of this in my life. This
Yeah.
is like taking me back to the old radio days.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we started in the
In your room.
in my back office.
No
like,
aircon.
no aircon,
Sweating.
and
So
then we
good.
changed into my theatre room, which was kind of cool. And then I moved house to a rental in Kingsley,
Yeah.
in the front office again, and now we're we somehow took over this
We've
from
commandeered
Wolfie.
Wolfie.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You should just rent it out to other people though, to like.
That's one of the plans, but Branchy's attached to how well we've made it look,
But
and
you
he
could
doesn't
just
want
have like a curtain or something.
Yeah.
The what?
You guys think the
curtain.
exact same.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
my idea is up here is to have like a pull down blind.
Yeah.
So it covers up all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And then maybe a curtain that goes over that, and then.
Yeah.
And then anyone can come and use it.
Yeah,
And
I
then I'll
love
just
it.
produce it and people can pay me money
Yeah.
Yeah,
to do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
If anyone wants to
take
do a
little cute
podcast out
photos,
there.
you guys. Yeah. We
Yeah.
already recorded.
Yeah.
Where we
Just
just get
the
into it.
podcast.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
all
all
take a
natural.
photo. Didn't even get like an intro. I
No,
love
we
it.
do intro and post.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we can cover what we talked about, and it gives everyone an insight as to what they're going to hear about for the
Yeah.
next hour. So we're very clever like that.
Well,
Delby.
did we bring it? I can't even remember what we were talking about now.
Yeah, I don't know.
The podcasting, the TikTok, the behind the scenes.
Yes. I don't want to
But-
give too much of my content away.
Yeah. On Wednesdays we wear pink. Apparently.
Oh, yeah.
We've mean
Mate,
girled
I
it.
You
nearly
missed the memo, mate.
I nearly wore my peach
Yeah.
shirt as well. That would
we
have
got
been
full mean girls.
Yeah,
Um,
full Mean Girls. Oh, actually, that's a good way to kick into it
Yeah.
because I was going through your content the other day and I was looking at it, and some of the stuff I love is this the confidence stuff that you're talking about, but the Mean Girls approach, being the Mean Girls to each other to create the confidence within yourselves or something. So maybe go
Well,
down that path. And
So you would experience the inner critic.
Yes.
Like
all the
especially
time.
yeah, especially being a comedian,
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out there with your podcast.
she didn't
and
point to me when she said comedian.
No, I didn't actually correct you. I mean, but I may think you're a comedian by the end of this.
Yeah.
But so I talk a lot about our inner critics and I call them the mean girls.
Okay.
So my approach is understanding and getting to know your inner mean team,
Yeah.
your inner mean gals, so then you can become friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the thing is, they're there all the time.
And
They
serve
never go away.
Serve a purpose
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but sometimes they can keep you really small. They can
Yeah.
keep you boxed in.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, mine kept me, for years thinking that I was fat, disgusting, like all of these horrible things that I used to say to myself that didn't serve me at all.
Yeah.
And so now I coach women and we really confront them in the shit that I do, which
Yeah.
is probably what you saw, where we get them to write all over their bodies.
Yeah.
Like they're so on the back we get them to write their mean words in a workshop.
Yeah.
And then we talk, because what you do is you partner up and then they'll say, oh my God, fuck, you talk to yourself like that? Oh, me too.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, me too. And so they have this moment of connection. And then how we rewrite the narrative is once we've confronted it and we know our stories, because
Yeah.
a lot of us hide from them. We run
Yeah.
from them. We drown them out. We drink. I mean, I was sleeping around for years and drinking beers and, I was a wild motherfucker.
Yeah, I listened
Oh,
to
we did-
I listened to an audio book. We'll hear about that
I was
shortly.
drowning
Are
it
we the
all
same
out.
person?
Yeah, probably. And then all of a sudden, we have this awakening, and
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then basically we convert the words into power words, and then they become our narrative.
Maybe
And-
that's what Benny Cousins was doing.
Oh,
Such is life.
Such is life. Yeah, he started out early, didn't he? I mean, I've got Believe on my wrist.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, it served as a purpose 10 years ago. Now I don't really look at it.
yeah.
I got one.
Ask, believe, receive.
We got one. Live in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So I got that drunk in Thailand. Don't remember getting it.
So in the moment.
So in
in
the
the
moment,
moment.
all I remember, and this was definitely said to me the next day, was you were they were saying I was getting so emotional in the pub on the last night of footy trip, and the guy, you were going, yeah, we just got to appreciate every moment, and then you were gone.
I've never heard that story.
Yes.
And you just disappeared. And you
I just
woke up.
disappeared, woke up, and we were on a flight home the next day, and one of the guys was like, what the fuck?
And did they spell it right?
Yeah, but it's bent. It's slightly bent, see?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just my arm, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's
But-
too much flexing.
I've got
Yeah.
Hot FM on my ass as well.
Oh, yeah? Was that
Yeah.
for a radio start?
Yeah. So with
Where was
bull
Hot FM?
horns.
Was that?
So WA. Oh, WA.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just getting
familiar
warmed
with
up.
it, yeah.
I'm just getting
Familiar
warmed
with
up, guys. Bunbury.
Yeah.
So worked in Bunbury. We did the network radio show. That was 10 years ago.
Is that what Mitch Tinley and that do now?
Think
Oh,
maybe that's
Mitch,
and
bless.
Mike,
He worked a little bit in radio when I was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met him through stand up years and years and years ago. But
Yeah.
I also met you because of our radio contact, Jess Duncan.
Yeah.
So we might
Hi,
as well
Jess.
start from the very start and then
Yeah.
go back to Mean Girls.
Yeah.
We were Mean Girls to Woody.
We were Mean
'Cause-
Girls to Woody.
Woody went on a date.
Oh, was this the prank one that
Yeah.
you did years ago?
Yeah.
Ah,
So that's how I met
full
Heidi.
circle.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those that haven't heard, like Woody was bragging about going on a date with Bree Shepherd, I think Brad Shepherd's sister.
I love this. Is
Who?
so so Perth, isn't it? Everyone knows everyone.
And we've had Chef on the pod.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yes.
So
my-
and
and
I didn't
this-
know him back then.
And this was, we would just move to Perth. So Will and Woody were my co-hosts. We just started at 92.9
Yeah.
and we were trying to make noise around our radio show.
Yeah.
And it well worked.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it made the news the next day. The
Fucking
prank,
hell,
remember?
wow.
It was on
Yeah,
9
yeah.
News.
I just found it on YouTube because the
It's on
whole
there?
thing is gone, but
Yeah.
the clips and the interview that they did on the news is on YouTube. So, we'll
like,
put
as
that up.
if 9 News cared
I know.
about that. But it was
Yeah, we
because-
just gone into Iraq. It's all good now.
Yeah, but then, like that was so baffling. But I think Jess organised you, and so Woody was going on this date,
Yeah.
and Will wanted to prank him,
Yeah.
and
I met these guys beforehand. We made a plan that I
Yeah.
was Bree's boyfriend
yes,
and interrupted their dinner. They planned to sit somewhere, but then they had to move and sit out the front.
Did you wear a wife beater or something like
I
that?
put on an Ed Hardy jacket.
he looked tough.
Yeah, I looked tough.
He looked tough.
That was it. But then
And you was because you do acting, don't you?
used to back in the day. Yeah.
You fully went into like that was Bree's boyfriend, 100%.
Well, he almost it's manifested now with all the tension stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
So when it's for a cause, were you shitting yourself with that?
I was actually more excited because I knew that it was
Yeah.
it was all
A
a
prank.
prank on one guy.
Yeah.
And someone else was in on it. When no one's in on it and you got to prank the public, that's where I get the
Oh,
anxiety.
yes.
Like, I don't want to do this, but
So every day of
fortunately
our
do it.
life at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fucked.
But like I just literally leant over the rail and stood and stared at him for ages. And he goes, "Are you right, mate?" I'm like, "No, mate, I'm not fucking right. This is my girlfriend." He's like, "This is just a friendly drink. This is just a."
Oh my God, Woody, as Will and I both knew, just coward.
Yeah.
He's so nice. Like he was probably bigger than me. Like if he, but I mean, I was like amping.
He was so shocked.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
I reckon he was going to cry.
Yeah, he goes, "So take a seat. Do you want to sit down?" I said, "Yeah, I will." He goes, "Do you want a drink?" I go, "Nah." And then I took his and drank his. He goes, "Oh, just have mine." And I'm like, "You're going out with one of the fucking Hanson brothers. You tagged yourself in."
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and then
It was really good.
Yeah.
Well,
it was like you couldn't have wrote it better.
Yeah.
It was, and he was absolutely blindsided, had no fucking idea. I remember Will hiding around the corner like the
Yeah.
cameras were out. I felt nervous for him and scared. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's right. It's a joke."
yeah,
Like, it's a
and you
joke.
came out and you were like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?" He's like, "Wah! I don't know who this guy is, but he's the best actor ever." And he jumps on me, and then he started doing stand up.
Yeah.
And just by chance, it was almost a week or two later, he's decided to do stand up. And I walked up, and he's in the green room. I was like, "Remember me, cunt?"
Oh, so we're allowed to say the C word on
Oh,
this
yeah, yeah.
podcast?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Everything's
See
unfiltered.
you next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
But I also have a feeling that I auditioned for Big Brother with you in the year that you got through, because I got through to the final 10 twice.
Whoa,
And I have
way.
a feeling that I met you at one of the auditions.
In Sydney.
Oh, was your audition in Sydney?
So I did one here when I did, oh, fuck.
It would have been here.
Yeah, so I did one here. That was my last year. So it was 2012.
Yeah.
And yeah, I tried out when I was working in breakfast radio in Bunbury.
Yeah.
So that could have been.
I have a feeling, like I really
so
have
I
a
was
feeling.
memorable, was
Yeah.
I? I don't actually remember you.
Yeah. Because I got down into one of the series, the guy that was a magician, I think. I was in like the final fucking
A
six.
magician in
Yeah, he
Big
was
Brother.
some sort of a
I
That
don't
was
remember
going to
a
be his
magician.
in to
That
like,
was after you, I think.
Oh, okay.
And the one before that, the one that you got through, I don't think I made it past like the second round, I think.
Well, I didn't. That was when I just moved to Newcastle, and I
Yeah.
wasn't even going to go audition. So the last year that I didn't get through, 2012, I was like, I'm never auditioning. I've been rejected way too many times. Like this just isn't my thing.
Yeah.
Fuck
This
it.
man dating.
Yeah. Are you still searching?
Yeah. Yeah. Still.
Don't worry, they'll come
be
out.
there,
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll be there
One day.
one day.
Yeah. But yeah, we've kind of gone like a little bit
Yeah,
full
we've been
circle. And then
connected.
just bumped into Heidi at a wedding down, and now you're in all my content in the background laughing.
Oh my God.
Of
Because
Steph's wedding.
it was one of the best weddings I've ever been to. Not because their MC was very funny. No, it obviously love Tim and Steph, whose wedding we were at. But I just loved the freeness and the looseness. Like, because I love getting loose at weddings. Like, you know, you'll always find me on the D floor, smoking darts out the back, like, you know, having D&Ms at the bar. Or at Steph's wedding, I was sliding over the floor. Like, I was sliding on the floor, like doing all this crazy shit. But you just,
we're
the
the same person.
Yeah, you guys are like
that's
identical.
probably why he was like, oh, she's laughing at my joke.
Yeah. Oh, I laugh out of pity, but that's all right.
I definitely wasn't laughing out of pity. I'd had a few champagnes, but it was just, and I was like, how do I know that guy? Like when you were, you know, marrying them.
Yeah.
And some of the, like, there was one joke that I was like, okay, well, that is too fast. I was like, that's in the ceremony?
They approved it.
Exactly. That's what I loved about it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But I remember going, fuck, oh my God, that's the guy that pranked Woody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and
sick.
that's how it all came together.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, I love that sort of stuff. Which joke do you think was too far? The MD Amazing experience one?
Oh no, that was fucking brilliant, and I loved how he like talked about her boobs. It was probably, and this is one thing that doing a lot of self development since I left radio, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I can be, and it was because when you're on breakfast radio, you've got a lot of people listening. Sometimes I get very protective of if you make a joke about someone and then, oh my God, they're offended. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, I think that came from radio, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
And so I had to become very like political PC because Griffo sometimes was always like, Heids, you don't have to like go in and give
for
them
someone else
all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that became a thing because on radio, that was like the person that I had to kind of be sometimes because the boys, if they pushed it too far or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm an empath. So I genuinely would be like, oh my God, imagine if the person's listening that, you know, they've said this about and then fuck, what if their whole life, you know,
This
and
is
then
such a good like leeway to go down.
Yeah. So it was something to do with, Steve, like I don't even want to say it.
Do it. Do it. Throw him under the bus.
No, because I was like, the fact that...
Well, you don't have to name a person.
No, it wasn't a person. It was an event that happened in World War II.
Oh, yeah, like...
Yeah.
What did you say?
I don't think you should say it.
It was the Germans... something to do with they were genetically in a lab, like because they were so good looking.
Oh yeah.
And then there was a reference to some sort of death near too close to the Germans. So it was like a
because Tim's German.
yeah.
Okay.
And so that was people did go like, oh. But like I said, for me, then I start to think about, what about people who are affected by that and their grandparents? That's how my train of thought goes.
Yeah.
See, for me, like this is good because it's going to be our first healthy discussion.
I like it.
Healthy.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
No, it's good. It's good.
I am quite empathetic.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
But when it comes to any form of stage show, whether it be a wedding, emceeing, or comedy, if someone is a viewer and you're going to get upset over a presentation piece, and then you build your identity on the fact that you're getting offended on behalf of someone else,
Yeah.
I'm not cool with that because as a performer, I guess, I should be able to just, within reason.
Yes,
Within reason.
exactly.
You're not
That's
gonna-
why I think there's like
Throw it out
disclosure.
there. Yeah. Throw it out there within a context.
Yeah. Within
And in
fucking
that-
everyone's got the broad scope. Knows what you don't go that far. You don't. This is the line.
Yeah,
Like,
whether
you're
it's
not
a
going to do
comedy show
racist
or-
or something
or
like
the
that. You know, like
If the fact that it was a wedding that I've got that the bride and groom have proofread, then for me,
Oh, 100%.
I'm like,
I
yeah,
agree. And that's
yeah.
why, but it was like, and so for me, like I said, and this has been like my personal journey, you know, I've been out of radio, I think 3.5 years
Yeah.
now. And it is crazy how much like I was boxed in, but also that I became a person, like part of my identity became that person that they wanted me to be.
like a mini Karen.
No, definitely. But like poor Karen.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
yeah, Paul, the
Like,
actual
but
Karens
if
that are
you
legends.
joined my
Imagine that.
joined my marketing list, like you, it's so funny.
So many
like I had, there was the one person who complained, like who
fuck
was
off.
a Karen, and now I've got it. When you actually join my marketing list, like we take the piss out of don't be a Karen around here, like, and we've got the screenshot of her
Yeah.
actual message.
But sorry, how did that feel? For 3.5 years, you're forced and expected to act a certain way.
Well, it's
if
right,
that goes
yeah.
against who you actually are as a person, there's some kind of disconnect there. So that's going to make
Massive. But I think this is, you know, when you would be the same in performing, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to be the most authentic person that I can be, and that was one of the reasons why I had a successful radio career here in Perth, and where I've worked and stuff, is because I've always been real and have real conversation. I wanted to push real, like. I also love a laugh as well. Like I'm fucking here for shits and giggles. Yeah. But what I think happens is when you're working in that kind of environment, and then you're working with a couple of other people, then all of a sudden you have to start to become all of the other people that are listening as well. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was the only female on the show.
Yeah, and we've seen that with our good mate, Sammy Ritchies, who's now the co-host of the Swanee. So he got brought in, she got brought in basically because of the controversy between what was going on, just sort of level-headed.
We level it out.
But if you know
That's
Sammy...
why I'm here today, guys.
If you know Sammy... if you know Sammy, and we know her pretty well, she is not that kind of girl. She's a fucking girl from Bullsbrook and loves the... Yeah,
but like this is
one of the perfect fit.
But she's definitely the perfect fit. But and she finds herself in that situation where she has to go, right, you guys are going a bit too far.
And that sucked because like that became my thing. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I would get anxious if like Woody or Will had pushed it too far or whatever. And I remember there was one conversation on air one day, and I actually said to the guys, I think I was working, Will and Woody had moved on, I was working with a couple of the other guys, and I said, like, I can't delve into that conversation anymore. Like, it genuinely is something I'm really, really passionate about. But sometimes I didn't get to have those conversations because the other people are getting defended, thinking that you're telling them that they're shit because you're getting upset about it. So it's a really toxic environment, actually, breakfast radio. And if you don't have the right managers and I think the life skills and personal development skills, it can get really fucking hectic in there.
I think that's exactly what we're seeing, not just in breakfast radio, on mainstream news and network television and stuff. It's confirmation bias, getting the same people on. If you get someone on that disagrees with you, it's
hang him out to dry.
Yeah, you're an asshole that you can't believe you. Instead of trying to have an open dialogue about like where you disagree and what's going on, like
no discourse.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do as a podcast, trying to be vulnerable. Like some of the best feedback we've had is being vulnerable about our own experiences. Like I went through a divorce last year. I was pretty open about how I was feeling about certain things and our own mental health battles that have come. Like I was of the ilk of there is no such thing. It's all in your head, and it still
It is all in your head, actually.
It is.
That's why it's called mental health, not body health.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, there is part of it where like I knew I could change my way of thinking and my mindset, but I still couldn't do it. I knew that it was
like you're empty.
I don't know why that happens. I don't.
But there's so many reasons and why, and that's where I think like it's the same with my husband. He comes from a family where they didn't even believe in mental health issues, and I come from a family where my grandma took her own life when my dad was 2. So mental health has been around. My brother was, really unwell as a teenager, wanted to take his life, and my mum saved him. And so for me, it's always been, very there. But that was my biggest struggle, is like getting in the studio sometimes when I wanted to talk about this real shit of mental health, and I would be challenged on it, and it's like, are you fucking serious?
Well, at the radio station.
Yeah.
And what they do would just blanket.
The boys, and then now Will and Woody, that's a big piece of what they talk about is mental
especially
health.
Will, like after everything.
But he was going through his own stuff, and this is the thing, right?
And so, and it brings up your own. Mate,
it's a mirror.
I couldn't even and this wasn't like because of losing Steph and all that breaking down. It was this feeling of like my life I had this vision of where it was going and everything was going back, and you're going through it alone. I was going through it through COVID lockdowns and isolation and stuff. So it was incredibly difficult. But I guess through that whole process, being vulnerable and open and speaking to Delby and on the thing about it was actually quite healthy and it made me feel
like cathartic.
Yeah.
Like this would have been therapy.
Yes. Yeah.
This is why I believe these conversations are so important. Like hubby and I right now on our podcast, shout out, first time parents.
First
we
time
might have
parents,
to get you on there.
Yeah.
But we, not you, sorry.
That's okay. I'm still working on getting laid.
Maybe that's why we could put you on there for all the single ladies.
I'll just be a donor.
Well, we are actually doing our therapy sessions on the podcast at the moment.
Oh, really?
And we're putting them out
that's pretty
there.
vulnerable.
Well, because after having a child, as you would know, most people get divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Like the stats speak for themselves.
I've got my own theory on that.
and I won't. I told Steph I won't really talk about our relationship
Yeah.
or anything anymore on the podcast.
We used to, but
yeah, I used to be. I'm
There's
very
a
open
you've
about it
got
because I've got to think of
healing as well.
I've got to think of her as well and
Yeah,
stuff. But we
respect.
are really good. We're
That's
so
awesome.
amicable and I guess that's a good thing. But definitely, I think a huge factor in it was the child coming along, and
Yeah.
that was not. It wasn't the only factor. There was plenty.
Oh,
But
mate,
me
there's like
putting
so much.
I put so much attention into my daughter instead of putting an equal amount of attention into my wife.
Yes,
So that I
that's
don't think
a
that's
big thing.
I don't think that's the 100% the reason, but that's definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah, and then
Like,
there's the whole resentment thing, and that's like what we're working through. So Griffo doesn't want another child,
yeah.
and I do, and so we're literally doing this live on our podcast because it's the safest place for us.
Yeah.
Like how we were just saying, like there's that vulnerability. You hear each other, like what your whole podcast is about.
Yeah.
You don't get up in each other's grill. You actually go, oh fuck, oh my god, I get your perception now. Like
Yeah.
I see you, I feel you,
Yeah.
and so for us, it's a really safe place to do that, and it's
Yeah.
not for everyone.
Yeah.
But like that's why I love that you guys just
Yeah.
it's coming in here and it's like there's a crystal in front of us. We've got water.
Yeah.
Like it's safe.
Oh,
you
you're
know,
a little bit spiritual.
I mean,
you're my kind of person.
it helps. It does help that you're both comfortable doing that, and I think it's going to help other people. But I found like there's two things. The number one thing, I've grown up in a house with my mum, not my dad, but my mum, where we talk about our feelings all the time.
Yeah.
And it's nothing new to me. So when we discuss that openly,
yeah.
our listeners go, man, it's so vulnerable and raw. But I'm like,
It's just
well, it's just
normal.
how I've been growing up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it comes back to what you were saying before with that, like people were saying, "Oh, you feel like that too." That's what our listeners were.
Yeah,
the me too.
Yeah, and I got no
in
issues.
a healthy me too.
Yeah, I got no issues doing that.
Yeah,
But
you're
then
good at it. You're very open and vulnerable.
The second part is, I don't know what you've learnt from research, but I've got my own theory, is that if a relationship's not working or a marriage isn't working, they think having a kid is going to solve the problems. And then when the kid's there, they're like,
It adds-
oh, we still don't.
We still have issues.
Yeah. Is that what you've
Yeah, I think
learnt?
there's. I mean, like, I don't want to say
It's not for everyone.
Not
Yeah,
for everyone,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
do have friends
Yeah.
that are like, where we've openly talked about it as Band-Aid baby. Like, they're trying to fix something, which
That's
is
Nelly, we
so-
call that.
Well,
Band-Aid
yeah. Which is like so, and that, like I said, that is not why everyone obviously has children. But
Yeah.
Griffo and I had big discussions before because I had this big career.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I gave that all up after Memph. And now I'm slowly rebuilding myself again.
Yeah.
But I was like, majority of my friends that got married when we were between 18 and 25,
Yeah.
actually not even going to say majority, all of them are divorced
Yeah.
What was
after children.
Because what they see, they just see that as a social norm and as a logical progression instead of working on.
Yeah.
But your kids bring out, as you know, like your kids bring out your shit, like, or they bring out the resentment, like, because there is like, you've got to share your time now. You've got to share your energy. Then you've got your own passions. You've got your own, then the guys, I think there's not a lot of talking about the financial stress that they feel. And the women then like carry this, like, I think they carry this like, oh my God, I've got to prove myself. So we've got to start this side hustle. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. Because I can feel that he's like stressed, but he's not fucking saying it, but just the way that he's behaving.
Yeah.
Then that's where Andrew Tate comes in with gender roles actually not being a negative thing.
Yeah.
Like if you
okay.
didn't feel that pressure
Yeah.
to be side hustle, if you were just like, it's cool that I can be a mum for now, and if the dad was like, it's fine for me to be the provider, we don't need to be independent and do all these equal rights.
Yeah.
Like I think
I see what you're saying.
that's a healthy little.
Yeah.
It's not an unhealthy thing to have a gender role in that specific.
Yeah. I think for me, right, like my thing is, like, because my little boy Memphis, he's 3.5. He needs his own radio show. Like, he's fucking fun. But the other day I was driving him to daycare and he's like, Mum, why do I go to daycare? And like he says it, like he shakes his little head and he's like, this little serious face. And I was like, because Mum has passions. And Mum needs her space. And I 2 days a week he goes to daycare.
Yeah.
And I love telling him that because
Yeah.
I'm not going to something that I fucking hate.
Yeah,
that I
that's
don't want to
wicked.
go back to. And had I gone back to radio or whatever, like, do you know what I mean? TV media full time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to like say that feel like I'm showing up as the best person that I can be.
Yeah.
But I agree. There's this like pressure that
Yeah.
we feel. And also the world isn't fucking built for us to have families.
Yeah.
To be fully present with our families, it's not built that way.
Yeah.
modern world has become so it's so busy, so
Yeah.
hectic. It's
and
hard
then
to get the
they expect
balance.
you to work like these ridiculous hours. That's why I think so many of
Yeah.
us want to start our own businesses.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you get that sense of freedom. You just have different kind of stress that
Well-
then you bring home, and then that's another.
And this is well,
It's another issue.
This is
Yeah.
like why I'm so I'm confident with my new leap of faith of
Yeah.
launching into this. But I quit my job in about 3 or 4 weeks. It's about 4 years since I quit my job to do my filmmaking and stuff like that. And I had the confidence because I had the support of my wife at the time, and I had a lot of work going on. But my I guess anxiety was always, can we continue to provide that income?
Yeah. The safety, if you're going to your 9 to 5 or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But also because I had all these things that we already had that I wanted to keep paying for and so I had to change my mind, and it's very hard. It's easy for me to change my expectations, but also changing my wife's expectations at the same time. But she was so supportive. She was great, and at the time we didn't really need to be a factor anyway because I had the income coming in, but it was a thing. So now this new leap, I've become so confident because I don't have to provide for anyone except for my daughter, obviously. But there's no, I'm risking a bit, but it's me. I
So
guess.
just for
you've
context,
found
he's-
yourself.
Yes.
Just for context, he had a job that he loved, which was doing media for West Perth Footy Club.
Yeah.
That became pretty much too invasive in all parts of your life.
Yeah, it's taken over too much.
And
I still love it there as well.
Yeah,
He's
but it was just like you
He's
couldn't.
just quit.
Yeah, well,
last week.
Yeah, so it finishes today, tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
But
So you're fully like a big grown up now.
yeah. So so the thing was, they were one of my, and they were a client. I shouldn't say I quit. They were a client of mine, and they were one of my clients from the very fucking start of my leap. From my first time I quit my job.
Yeah.
So having them, and then they eventually snowballed into just doing bits and pieces like I do for all my clients. Like I balance them all.
Yeah.
They became a 40 to 50 hour week.
Fuck.
Just for
and
them.
There's only one of you.
And exactly. And that's fine. That's great. Like, especially last year, I probably needed that stability going through a few things and whatnot. But now I'm at that point where I'm motivated to find work again and get up and do it. So I don't really need it. And I can't take on more work. I can't take on other clients because if I need to put 40 to 50 hours into that, and then every other minute I have available, I'm trying to put into this. So I just went, fuck it. Get rid of that income. Delby was like, get a plan. Everyone was like, hey, get a plan. I was like, nah, fuck it. I messaged the CEO and said, I'm sorry, mate. I've been putting this off. I need to go. I've got to go.
You just had to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do just have to say it, don't you? And like people think that you have to have this safety net and plan. And see, that's what probably stresses my husband out a little bit because I'm like, why don't we just move to fucking Bali? Like we have no we'll have no expenses there. Yeah. We'll rent our house out here. We'll do all these things. Like that's the kind of mindset that I have.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there's always going to be more money. Like I know that sounds crazy, and people are being like, Heidi, like especially what we're going through right now. But I'm like, there's always more money.
Yeah, we've always got. I mean, it's not like we live in fucking Cambodia,
Yeah.
right? We're in the first world. There's always something. There's always a backup.
100%.
There's even the dole of Centrelink at the worst.
I forgot about that.
There's
I might
always,
just
Maybe
just
that's
go
his
on
new
that.
thing. But like, I'm the person as well. Like, create your own opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what I've done.
she's a female you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we end up. I spoke about this the other with Wolfie, or I can't remember who, but the empowering thing was taking self responsibility for everything,
Yes.
even the things that aren't my fault. I take full accountability because I feel like I have a level of direction and drive behind what I'm doing. Then instead of it's out of my control, it's out of my hands. If everything's my fault, that means I can fix everything. And Delby did bring up, don't put everything on you.
Sorry, guys.
How dare you?
That's my
Inappropriate.
brain.
I was
of
in
like
this
having
beautiful
to have,
beautiful
sorry.
moment.
And I thought I had it off as well,
No,
but it
that's
was
all right, no
like
stress.
that's because you guys threw me under the bus.
But Delby doesn't want to
check that there's no other alarms yet.
Yeah.
Delby doesn't, and I sort of tend to agree. Don't put everything on me. Don't like mentally drain myself and saying everything's my fault because you don't
No,
want to.
but that's that's one of your coping mechanisms.
It's an empowerment sort of thing, I guess.
Because if everything's your fault, that means like if something hasn't worked out for 3 years, that you've been fucking the worst. Or if anyone else has had terrible experiences through that 3 years, then that's all your fault. You don't want.
Yeah,
yes, you
like,
can be accountable for
it's
it.
your
but
fault my alarm just went off.
Yeah, right?
I literally, I take responsibility for that because I then will go, it's not her fault. I should have checked if she had anything going. That's how I assess
Well,
everything.
going back to the Mean Girls in a critic,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'd love delving into this stuff.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Like, that's what I'd be looking at, because that's one of your voices in your head that's quite critical of you, that like probably rules the roost. And like, yes, it's got you a lot of places, but like, where does it come out in other areas of your life? And this is like what they're looking at, like with kids now. It's like when you've got a really critical parent, like I did. She didn't mean to be. Mum was doing it like for the best, but she always was like questioning herself. Should have done that. Oh, that was my fault. Like that all the time. Then that became who I was, my programming.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's like when you dive deep into that inner critic stuff, like how it comes out, like just to psychoanalyze you here.
Yeah, very
So,
nice.
well, maybe let's delve into your backstory then, because you are the guest. So now you got a little bit of a back.
Yeah, I feel like
branch
I
here.
feel like I know you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, cool.
So I did listen to your audiobook.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. So it was
Thank
an easy
you.
listen.
Yes.
I just put it on 3 times.
I did
the
what?
speed. No.
I did
You
watch
know-
you doing the recording the other day, and you're so into it. You're fucking right. I like it.
It's my thing, but like you're not over my voice yet.
Wow. No.
I'm amazed
So-
you got me in here.
Oh, well, I've never listened to an audiobook before, so you took my virginity.
Woo!
Yeah. So and because of that, I've accidentally subscribed to Audible, where they just automatically take
Game
it out.
changer.
So I'm starting to listen to Prince Harry's book. Just
Oh my God, spare. I really want to get into
yeah,
that.
it's okay so far. It's
Yeah.
okay so far. I actually feel sorry for the dude, man.
Same as
Yeah.
like a mum when his story came out with Meghan and everything and watching on Netflix.
Yeah.
That just,
I'm not into the royals and that, but just his experience and what he's had to go through. But anyway, that
sorry,
aside,
digress.
Yeah.
your story, I have so much. It's interesting because I'm a guy, you're a girl. In 2023, I don't give
Mars,
a fuck.
I'm from
I'm going to
Venus.
say it right. But your experiences sound very similar to mine. So I want to probably start off with the party life.
Yes.
The anxiety, and then what you think anxiety is or how you found out about it.
Yep.
Because I have experienced it, but I also don't like when people blame everything they've ever done
On anxiety.
and don't take
Yeah,
responsibility
yeah.
for it, or if a sports star gets caught, it's anxiety. I was
Yeah.
doing coke because I had anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing coke because I enjoy it as
Yeah.
well.
And it gives you anxiety
it just
afterwards.
gives me anxiety afterwards. Like I'm not going to do the coke because I'm anxious.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of the time I do it because I actually had fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
But you did mention you were masking like the problem
Yeah.
with alcohol and drugs.
So
And stuff.
maybe we
Yeah.
could probably pick up from London because that sounded pretty fun.
Oh my God, it was so fun.
Yeah?
Living in London. So I was 22, 23, and I moved over there with my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And then he had his own shit, his story, not mine.
Yeah.
And we broke up, and we'd been together for like 7 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
2 of my best friends moved over, and they'd just broken up with their boyfriends as well.
So
And
did you just decide, was it he had a job to go there, or you were just like, well, let's go?
I went when I was 15 or 16. My mum and dad let me go with our next door neighbours for a holiday and leave school for 3 weeks.
That's
Best thing
so
they ever
cool.
did, because I was that kid that was really social. I had been working hard, so I had like $3,500 in the bank account, which paid for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
But they gave me this, like they opened up my world because they trusted our next door neighbour because she was like my second mum.
Yeah.
But it gave me that like, oh my God, there's so much more out there than Bathurst. Like I'm a Bathurst girl.
Yeah.
Country,
Oh,
you know,
Jesus.
V8 supercars.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
That's the
it's
Sammy
very-
Richards.
You
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
you think sometimes like how Perth can be small-minded, not everyone, but like, you know, there's that mentality sometimes with
Yeah.
that country feel. That's like Bathurst,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I got out, and then so it was just like that thing that it lit me on fire, and I was like, oh my God. So I went when I was 18.
Yep.
And then ended up going back as soon as I finished uni. And I said to him, if you want to be with me, we're going overseas.
Yeah, right.
And so we packed up and we left. But then we had all these issues because I had like so incredibly deep insecurities about myself.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know because I put on the fucking party girl,
Yeah.
bravo, I'm fucking funny face.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's how I survived.
So you're the female version of me and Delby. So
Yeah. And it is
We've
like-
established this, so
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, and I just walk into a room and I would make sure you knew I was there first. I would make the fat joke before you had the opportunity.
Takes your
Like,
power away.
Was that like
Yeah.
Fat Amy in Pitch
yeah,
Perfect?
pretty much. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like Rebel Wilson is so relatable to me. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, it's that, and it's this identity that I became. And so like it was so fun overseas. I learned so much, but I did come home with my mental health issues were like incredibly, challenging, debilitating.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just my partying, it was the work that I chose as well. Like I got into PR, I was in a high demanding PR job. So
In London?
In London.
Yeah. And that's all go, hey?
And then going out with your best friends for like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then trying to go in and like run. Like I was working with the English rugby team.
Yeah, right.
And I'd like be trying to work out their speaking gigs and stuff. And my mates who worked with me in the office, they're like, here she goes, fucking Heidi Bags.
Heidi Bags, Jesus, fuck.
Well, my actual, one of my, Will and Woody, when we worked on the radio together, I don't even talk about them this much, but because you have that connection.
Yeah.
But they used to call me like, because I just used to have.
Fuck.
So I've got to remember my fucking, it was like my nickname that I came home with, but they used to call it to me on air all the time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I was really good at beer bongs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I can't remember. Oh, Hoover. They were
Hoover.
like Heidi Hoover.
Nice.
And so I would always like, that was what I identified with. Like, oh yeah, I'm Hooves, like, and so they would like on a Monday.
Hoover's something different in Perth.
Well,
It's in the nose.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, there was that too.
I thought.
No, I was
What,
really
sucking
good.
off
Sucking a dick.
There's that too.
There's three Hoovers.
I was good at everything. Coke, beers, and boys.
CBB.
But that became my identity.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
What I regret when I look back is some of my behavior, how I treated people. What I regret is like the way that I treated myself. Like I don't party animal still comes out. I went day drinking on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I've had to do a lot of self-development and deep diving to understand, and making a choice now. Like, I want to get drunk because I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I want to, do you know what I mean?
that's-
I'm not doing it to like be the funny person because I'm just fucking funny naturally.
Yeah.
But I've had to find that.
I don't think you need any
Yeah,
drugs or
I
alcohol.
don't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't need anything,
Yeah.
actually. I don't need any stimulants.
Yeah.
Like I'm, but that's become like to believe in myself and actually find love for myself there and confidence. That's been the journey. So London was kind of like the kicker of like, can't keep going like this.
See, and I don't know if Delby's quite there yet, but I definitely have
He'll
got.
get there?
I think you'll
Hanging
get there.
out with you.
That's a trigger word for me. You'll get there.
Yeah, he'll get there. No,
My ex used
Oh,
to,
Jesus
when it's
fuck.
spirituality, she said, you'll get there. I was like, what do you mean, man? Like, you're not better than me.
So I have moved like what you said. I felt like I had to be the party guy who's fucking out there drinking, and I felt
Man,
like I had
actually,
this.
the more I think about it, used to.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally.
The
You've just got a
Same.
penis. I've
Yeah.
got a vulva,
Yeah,
vagina.
so I had the I had that, like I had to be the loud, proud, drinking party person, and I felt like I identified as that person.
Yes.
Like in a crowd, like I had to be that guy. Otherwise, I wasn't going to have the attention or the respect from everyone in the room that I was getting from that, because I was the fun party guy.
And it felt safe, right?
And I've
like because you knew that person so well.
Yeah, and because I've slowly stopped doing that, and now I'm at a point where, like, my arm is bendy. It's very bendy.
same.
Yeah, look at your tap.
That's
Very-
why.
It's very bendy, but I've become a lot more disciplined with it, and I still go, right, I'm going to have a big one tonight.
Yeah.
But I've just pick and choose. Delby nearly twisted my arm the other night. We went for a beer at at Dowsty's. And
that's the Comedy
Awards. And it was a Sunday afternoon. I didn't have my daughter, had nothing, like fuck all work the next day. I had all the excuses not to, but I'd chosen that I was going to drink the weekend after, and for a 40th for a
That's
good friend.
adulting.
And I said, no, I'm sticking to it. I'm disciplined, and I'm going to do it. And that's where I think I've changed now. I'm still willing to have fun, and I'm still willing to be out there, but I don't need to go get fucking blind and drunk.
Yeah. Well, because we know ourselves, don't we? Like, I know for me, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good party.
Yeah.
And I can, you know, but I know when to stop now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start drinking waters. Like at Steph's wedding, I started drinking waters. I'm like, good. I'm the fucking smart one, because I still stayed the same drunk.
Yeah.
But I wasn't then like, you know, so blind that I couldn't, you know, so that's, it's
and
like.
regretting what you did the next day, and like, oh, fuck, I was running naked across the dance floor again.
See, whereas now I'm okay with it if I did that.
Yeah,
like, whereas 10 years ago, I would have beat myself up. The anxiety would have come through.
So
now I'm like, oh yeah, you're running through that. Like, I wanted to get naked at the wedding.
So is it more of a, like, so for me now, it's like, if I wake up hungover, I sit there and smile, and I'm like, fuck, that was fun. Yes. Whereas when it was 15 weeks in a row, I was like, I beat myself up.
Yes,
Like, this is fucking
same.
getting to
Yeah.
a problem. Like, why the fuck do you always feel like this? You're
Yeah.
wasting a day.
Yes.
But now when it's like it's an event, I've put it aside. I feel like I've allowed it. I'm allowed to do that one. That's a good one. That's fun. And I don't beat myself up about it. But when you're just constantly masking your inner problems with just drinking and being that person, I think that's when it does become the problem.
Yeah, like fuck, that's so like for me. Just the other day, I sat on the couch and ate 12 like party pies.
Yeah.
I would never have been able to do that before without beating myself up. But it's like that's a good like it's a place to get to. But that's only through self discovery that you can get there.
I've got 2 trains of thought on that.
Yeah.
And I just turned 36 on Saturday, just gone.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were a little down, Delby.
Yeah, but I've always thought like I'm only ever going to be young in air quotes.
You're still young,
now,
Delby.
once. And if I was always like, well, there's only 52 weekends in a year. And, you know, you only get X amount of chances before you blink and you're fucking 50.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, shit, like, am I just going to save going out and partying for next Saturday? When I'm doing fuck all right now, I might have a few babies, go out and have a loose time.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I would say instead of doing that, like, because you are only young once, soon you're going to be too old where you can't go climb a mountain at fucking the next day or something like that. So why don't you, or you know what I mean, something like that. So why don't you, instead of using that phrasing your mindset that I need to drink and party, instead of like I can adventure and do other things because you've drunk and partied. I've drunk and partied 100 times. It's no different. I've never fucking skydived. Maybe I'll go to a skydiving lesson
maybe
instead.
you guys
know?
should do that on the podcast.
I've skydived, but I've never solo skydived.
no,
which
But we
solo.
should still do that on the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll record you. We'll stay on the ground.
Yeah.
Like I'm already there.
But but reframing your mind to yes, you are only young once, so you've
Yeah.
only got a fucking small opportunity to fucking make it in comedy or fucking make it on the podcast instead of like I've only got a small opportunity to drink.
Yeah, and it's like,
'Cause
but what is your intentions with the drinking?
Yeah, that's
and
what
like,
it is.
It
Yeah.
is, and then also like you get so foggy, and then so you know, I know for me it would be like I would drift away from what I really wanted, which was like my radio career or whatever, because I was too like, oh fucking hell, and so the alcohol and that would actually, even though it would give me that drive in the moment, it was like on the Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday, it was like I wasn't chasing my goals, I wasn't living my life,
Yeah, it's a trade-off, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that. If I go too hard, I'll get like anxiety on the Monday and just not answer my phone.
Anything.
Which is actually what I need sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's not for the right reasons because I'm
Yeah.
hungover and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to face my problems.
What did I do?
Yeah, usually I know. But sometimes
That's probably my biggest problem. The next day,
live in the moment.
live in the moment and just literally
and then
going, no.
They tell you the stories, and you're like, "Can you not? Like,
Yeah,
you're
'cause I-
shaming me right now. I swear."
Oh, there got to a point in my life where I had the best memory. The next day, I'd remember everything. So if I did
You were
something
that
bad,
guy,
I
that was
could
me.
remember everything, and I'd be like, "Oh, that wasn't great," but
Yeah.
I remember it. There was a moment where it just stopped.
I think
Had a blackout.
I think that's age.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you get to a certain point where you just go,
Oh,
I'm forgetting.
don't
more and
remember what
more.
happened. I woke up with a fucking split lip, like 6-7 stitches.
See, I think I'm lucky. I
wasn't a fight
I
either.
haven't done
It was-
that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a fight. It was just like mates being mates, and it's just an accident. One of the guys chucking
Yeah,
something
see,
over to me
this
and
happens
missed
like
and
the boys
end
all
up
the
in the
time.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucked. But so from that moment, I've had like blackouts.
Yeah.
When I get, and it's really regretful because then you see the videos. Everyone's got phones now, and you're like,
Oh my-
"Whoa!"
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I'm
What
lucky
the
no one
fuck?
had phones in
yeah.
London, in,
Wherever.
at Steph's party.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
when,
Yeah.
your camera was gone, I'm
Yeah.
like, no one had phones.
Yeah.
So, because like, I think you do, like they have a whole other level
Extra.
of anxiety for them.
Speaking of that anxiety, I think there was a bit that I really resonated with was.
Back to that. You were getting to that point.
Yeah, well, when I come off stage, and I spoke about this ad nauseum on the pod, but not with you. That's always a weird thing. Like when we have a guest, I know our listeners have probably heard our stories, but our guests haven't.
Yeah.
Still valid.
Yeah.
Valid. Yeah.
But I get off stage and I get the maddest social anxiety where I don't know how to act. I don't even at weddings after I'm emceeing. I don't know how people expect me to be.
Yeah.
And it's just this real weird thing where I either leave.
Yes.
I just if I'm sober or if I've gigged or basically if I'm sober anywhere people are drinking or have seen me do something, I don't know how to act and I leave. And I've just diagnosed that as a form of social anxiety. I haven't spoke to a fucking counsellor or anyone like that, but it sounds like what you had in some certain parts and aspects of being on the show and then coming off being anxious. So I wanted to talk about what that sort of felt like for you, because for me, it's people expect me to be this way, like you were saying, and then I don't know how to act after. Like, I'm still myself, but I'm like,
It feels like very one way sometimes because they've like had this opportunity to get to know you.
Yeah.
It's the same with like this podcast, right? Like you're very open, vulnerable, but if someone started talking to you in the street and then like they're talking about like your marriage or this and that, and you're like, fuck, I don't even know you and I have no idea anything about you. And then I used to find it really hard to have a conversation because they just wanted to pepper questions and they're fans. So it was like, you know, you said this morning, but I would question myself like, did I offend someone? Did I do this? Did I do that? And so that was, I think for me, like where that political Heidi kind of came in where she had to play it safe with everything. Because like I was so worried that I might run into the person at the shopping. So I used to walk around with headphones in with nothing on.
Yeah.
And just so I wouldn't have to make eye contact, talk to people. Like small talk makes me uncomfortable anyway.
Yeah.
Because I just am like, well, why aren't we just fucking talking like real shit? About your marriage or this or that, you know, like why are we fucking talking about how busy it is or how hard it was to get here today. Like, do you know what I mean? And so I think I used to overthink the conversations.
That's what it is, overthinking.
Yeah, and so overthinking. And so I try not to say like that I have anxiety now.
Yeah.
My big things is that I experience it. So then I, again, don't identify with it. Yeah. And I think that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Because when I started saying I had it all the time, then it ruled my life. And everything was like, I'm anxious and this and that. And it does. Like it gets... like it can rule your life. Yeah, but it's like getting that self-talk. But I mean, for me now, like becoming the person that I am where I have really unleashed the confidence within myself. Because I believe I've always been as confident as I am now.
Yeah.
I just got lost along the way with all the voices, with all the things, the behavior, the people's opinions, and then they became my own, you know, anxieties and stuff. But unleashing this confidence now, like I can get off a stage and I don't give a fuck what anyone says to me, if they laughed at me, if they laughed with me, because I just have this belief within myself and I'm just like, yeah, I'm here, like I'll have a beer with you or I won't, or do you know what I mean? And
I feel like maybe there's a connection now between who you are at every point of your life. If there's a disconnect between who you are here and who you have to be somewhere else, then that's where all the thoughts come in and change your actions.
That's exactly what we've been having this exact conversation for the last few weeks. Like we're getting a lot more listeners now. Yeah. And I feel like especially if we go to a comedy show, there seems to be a lot more listeners or people who listen to the podcast
you guys,
in the room.
Told you you're a comedian.
And I walk in and I have this anxiety that like, fuck, they know everything about you because we're so vulnerable and open on it. They know everything about you. And you know fucking nothing about them, and you don't know whether they like what you think or whether they love what you think. Yeah. And sometimes you just get that anxiety.
Yeah, and it's like getting to a point where, and I still care, like, you know, as much as I've got the I don't give a fuck vibes, there is parts of me that wants to be liked. There's parts of me that doesn't want to be rejected. There's parts of me, and that's the stuff that I'm working on now. Yeah. You know, like coming and doing everything on my own. I'm not protected by a radio station. I don't have co-hosts with me. It's me. Yeah. You know, like putting myself out there. Yeah. So, but like I said, it's this unwavering confidence that I have now that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be okay. Yeah, I've got this. Yeah. You know, whereas I didn't believe that before.
Because before you're listening to the negative Nancy's just going like, nah, you're shit. You're never going to succeed. Yeah. And you let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you end up being open and honest with yourself, and if someone says something like derogatory towards you, it ends up being you're not bulletproof. Like you do take on
we're human.
But
right?
if you don't think what they're saying is true, and you honestly in yourself know it's not true, then what the fuck does it matter?
Yeah,
you end up just going like they're calling you a fucking asshole. You know, in your heart you're a good person. Yeah. So what does it mean? If you're getting really triggered by it, potentially you're doing some stuff that's asshole behavior.
Yeah, or even like I was thinking about you, Delby, like on stage, right? It's like sometimes you might question like, oh, did that land? Or was that too far? Or
Yeah.
And so therefore that could be like just the energy that you have when you come off stage. So you don't want to be confronted by that. And it's like, I don't fucking want that person to tell me that I was, because you're like trying to build your own, confidence and belief in yourself. And then you've got all these other people's projections.
Yeah.
Because, mate, to stand up and do fucking comedy is like the most terrifying thing to me. Is just, I'm writing a show at the moment, and it's a women's empowerment show. So I will have funny stuff in there. I have real stuff, all that kind of stuff. But standing up there, and I know a lot of comedians as well that they've got their dark side.
Almost every single comic.
They've got their issues, and that's what I think. Sometimes when you come off, people expect you to be funny.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, can you say that joke again? And it's like, no, mate, I was performing.
Yeah.
And so it's like finding that like balance.
Yeah, and it's probably, I resonate with what you said. It's the small talk that I fucking hate.
So just say that. Make that part of your fucking routine now.
Yeah. I've actually, it just reminds me. I think what I'm gonna do is just direct them to Hard Yarns, because I'm like, you like that? Why don't you listen more to the pod?
Yeah, mate, that's a great marketing tool.
Yes,
I just literally just thought of
please, Delby.
But then you're gonna have to get up there too. Maybe
he started doing
yeah.
stand-up.
I've just been doing it little bits over the last.
Yeah, I love that.
2 years. So I like it. It's fun.
Mate, I take my hat off to comedians. I find that to be one of the most terrifying places.
I love it. It's my happy place. Yeah. But that's also my external gratification and validation.
Yes.
But I really enjoy intrinsically, I enjoy making people laugh.
Yeah, same.
That's something that I enjoy to do. I don't need the validation, but it validates whatever that little itch is. I thought I wanted to be an actor until I did stand up. I was like, this is where the scratch is.
Yeah.
It feels really good. But I did want to bring up the first bit that I thought when I was listening. I was like, oh, this kind of, you addressed it, but also it would be good for our listeners to hear. When you would have benders and stuff, you'd then get upset at yourself for not looking the way you wanted, or whatever your negative voice was. But then there was not from you, I'm saying people that are feeling shit about themselves won't go, oh, well, I've just had a 3-day bender and this is why I'm feeling shit. If I stop that, there's a disconnect between their actions and then their negative. Does that make sense?
I think so.
It's like...
Wait, I've got to put my...
So you're saying that
if you're being pissed off at how you look or how you feel, but you're not accepting... Well, I've put myself in this position.
Oh, yeah, you're treating yourself like shit.
Yeah.
You're saying. So, so if you're kind of saying, if you're going on a bender and then you're not looking after yourself because you're taking the drugs, you're drinking, and then you're looking in the mirror and then judging yourself.
Yeah,
for that.
and you're like,
does that go back to that?
There's a disconnect between.
Or the self accountability we were just talking about, sort of just saying, I have to go. It is me. I am the problem. Maybe.
Oh my God, 100%. And it's the same with so for me with my weight, right? And that was a massive thing that I always focused on. Whenever I would walk past a mirror, walk past a window when I was drinking, that's all I obsessed about was the way that I looked.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I am healthier now. I go to the gym. I have lost weight if you look at my photos over the years.
I thought that.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I treat myself better.
Yeah.
So when I was going through that, it was this, it's like this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So I would go out on the bender because it would make me feel good for the moment.
Yeah.
And then the binge eating or, the emotional eating or the beating yourself up and would happen in the week.
Yeah.
Because it was and you would think, oh, go on a diet and this and that, which I would do as well.
Yeah.
Because it's oh, you want to lose weight, Heidi. But it was just this vicious cycle that you can never get off.
Yeah.
And so it's only since I've discovered this that I go oh, I can actually say I am healthy. I do look after myself because I'm making these choices. But I think when you're in that cycle, you just continuously treating yourself like shit, but you don't realize you're treating yourself like shit. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. And also not taking accountability or responsibility for one of the reasons why you may be feeling or looking that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's people want to complain that, oh, I'm fucking I'm doing this, this and this, but then they won't go, well, I'm also doing this,
Oh
this,
yeah,
and this.
yeah.
You
But
know,
this is what I mean.
that's-
It's radical
and it's
honesty
the-
that you
Yeah.
have to like be with yourself. So for me, and I know that we're going to get to the Lizzo stuff because I kind of I like, which is how this whole conversation of me coming onto this podcast. You were like you wanted someone to talk about that with you.
Yeah.
And I think it's this thing, right? It's like people judge people every day for their size.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then saying like, oh, you've got to look after you. If you're not looking after yourself, you're going on benders, you're eating all this shit.
Yeah.
But you're saying you can't lose weight, but that's not everyone's story.
Yeah.
Like that's do you know what I mean? Like that's just one part of it.
I was going to say there is other factors in like the mental health side of things because you go on social media and fucking see like the perfect body,
Which is what your chapter was about.
Yeah, but also-
the aggression and bullying and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
just the hecticness of life. There's so many contributing factors to the mental health side of things, which then can force you into a binge or a fucking spiraling depression where you go, I need a drink, and then you fucking eat like shit, and then you're stuck again. So I get that, but I don't know if healthy is the best way to describe it. But healthy, you mean as in like you're making the right choices and it's slowly working towards it?
I guess for me, right, it's like, for me, it's my mind has to be healthy first.
Yeah.
And I don't make those, you know, and when I'm looking after my mind, like for me, it's crazy because I use my body all the time to have conversations. You know, like I'm on the
Same,
front.
I just pop a nipple. I'm like,
No, but like to have, like we just crashed Melbourne Fashion Week in our birthday suits, like with a little bikini on or whatever, and we use our bodies to tell stories. Now, the reason why I do that is because it starts a conversation, because a lot of people judge people straight away by what they look like, when in fact we're so much more than that. So it's sometimes I'm like, well, it's a bit you know, like what's the word? Contradictory, because it's like I'm talking about my body, but then there's so much more to me, but I use it to expose myself to the mean girls, to expose people's like opinions so that I can hear them, so then I can help them work through them as well.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess for me, going back to your question is, for years, I just treated myself like shit with alcohol, this, that, the negative self-talk. When I stopped the negative self-talk, then I stopped the drinking, then I stopped this, then I stopped that. So my body actually just changed quite naturally. I don't sit there and go to the gym and you know, pound the fucking, you know, the treadmill.
Small incremental changes.
But for me also, then there's this other side that it's like, even if someone is a size 18 plus or whatever, they could be the fucking healthiest if you want to say like healthy, this, that. They could be so healthy, and it's like, why is that anyone else's business? Like, do you know what I mean? That's when I go...
I feel like that's valid.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is probably where we're going to
That's why I was
reach
like...
our itchy
I need
point.
my water.
Oh, there's your water. Yeah, well,
I think that the way you've described it is good, because now we're going to dispel the differences and the clashes and the triggers for me.
Yeah, because I love this. So have you talked about it on your podcast before? Okay.
Not in depth,
really.
and not with I guess you'd be an expert, because you do it for not an expert on it, and because we're two straight white males, immediately we get discredited because we come from privilege, and apparently right. So my journey, right, I nearly hit the scales at 100 kilos. I was overweight. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't going to pretend that I was happy with how I looked. Like, I was confident, but I wasn't happy with how I looked, and I just didn't want to live that lie or that non-truth. So I did something about it.
Yeah.
So I made sure I had extenuating circumstances. I've had 5 back surgeries, so I couldn't really move. And then it goes back to what you said earlier. I kept saying, I have a fucked back. My back's fucked.
Yeah.
It's never going to get better. So all that talk, I eventually found somebody that gave me like the little ray of light of hope, figured out how to fix it, made sure, and then lost like 15 kilos. And I've been down roughly since then.
Because I wouldn't go down the path of like a Piers Morgan where you need to be called a fucking fat cunt to spur you into it.
Yeah.
But obviously knowing...
Each their own.
Yeah. Because he's like, I don't like that. I think the body shaming, the fat shaming is fucking disgusting. There's no need for it, because then it contributes more to the mental health things.
Exactly.
And they're going to
And then what are we telling our children?
Exactly.
What are we telling...
But when it crosses that line, and then they say it's okay, it's and not okay.
No, I think what it is it's for me, I wouldn't promote that how I was. Like, I'm not going to be like, this is healthy, be like this, because it wasn't healthy. I wasn't happy mentally. And
So then
I was
wouldn't
overweight.
be. So you wouldn't be on social media as like the next Heidi Anderson.
No.
Like that's what I mean. So that's your story.
Yeah.
Right. That was. But just because someone else might weigh 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And who gives a fuck if
Yeah.
they do?
Yeah. Well, it's none of our
But
business.
they might
Who
be
cares?
really fucking happy, and
Yeah.
they might be physically fitter than you were, and do you know what I mean? So that's where my brain is like, that's your story. So
Yeah.
you were unhappy at that way.
Yeah.
So then you're projecting that onto the rest of the world.
Yeah, for sure as well. But I think the flip side for me is I agree with you on that. I agree with anybody. If you're happy with how you are, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think like Lizzo, because she's a trigger for me.
Yes.
She-
So talk about the trigger of Lizzo.
Yeah.
Is it because she sort of promotes it
She
as a
promotes
good thing?
it as this is like a healthy lifestyle. And I don't think you can say that she's healthy.
But this is the thing. This is where it's like,
'Cause she's-
but you don't know.
But
Oh, you mean,
But this
do
is
you
where-
mean mentally healthy or like?
I'm being like
No,
physically.
But this is where, okay, so this is where you want to dive into like fat phobia and stuff, right?
I'm not scared of fat.
No, but
I know
like,
what
but
you
you
mean.
could have been, and that maybe if you go dive into because really a lot of us are, because from a young age there was diet, like the dieting industry is
yeah.
so like diet culture
just had a
is like
nutritionist
billions
on last
and
week,
billions
yeah.
and billions
Yeah.
and billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so we're marketed 24/7 to be scared of being fat. And then everyone else then they shame other people for being fat and everything. And it's like, so that's why I asked you, like, that was your story, right? And
Yeah.
so when you're seeing someone out there who is confident, who is saying, and like, but who's to say that she doesn't eat healthy, she goes to the gym, she looks after herself internally, and she's just that size.
Well,
why,
I disagree with that because I've
Yeah.
seen her do interviews talking about having snack bars in her drawers and like eating unhealthily.
why can't she live like that?
Oh no! I don't think she. Yeah, that's not an issue.
If I had a kid,
What's your issue with it though?
Promoting it as a healthy lifestyle, hey?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be mine as well. Promoting it as a healthy lifestyle, because if we were to promote that as a healthy lifestyle, we already see, and this isn't just like, this is like NHS, and I don't like to use the NHS as fucking my thing because I think they're corrupt as shit. But
but isn't it funny how they're the ones that have like, we live our lives of what's so healthy,
know.
but then we're like, oh, do we trust them?
Yeah. So they're the contributing factors to obesity and overweight is obviously diet and nutrition,
Stress.
The
Biggest one.
alcohol, exercise, even
certain hormones.
certain hormones. There was a predisposition, and Corey talked about this last week, a genetic predisposition to people who store fat differently.
Yeah. That's me.
But even it says on there, that doesn't, it says on the website, and I can't remember the exact wording, I can find it, but that only it makes it slightly more difficult to lose weight. It doesn't actually make you obese just genetically. So that, I guess, in me, it doesn't matter for me if someone's obese or fat. Like, it doesn't matter to me
But
at
it does.
all. It doesn't matter to me.
But it does. It does to both of you.
Well-
Because you both got triggered by it. Like, and this is my thing, right? My body, my business.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yep.
I use my body to talk about this. And like, for me, this is how I think about it, right? I've got a little boy who's
Yeah.
3.5 who's come out into this world, and I don't want him to go through life with other people's opinions telling him what's healthy, what's not. Like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going to make his own decisions, and he's going to go on his own journey.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, it's no one else's business what someone eats, how they look. That's what I truly, truly believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because I've had to live with other people telling me that I should go exercise, that I should go do this, that I look
Yeah, but-
disgusting, I'm a fat cunt, all this shit.
Yeah.
Right?
And
it's
that's
like,
that's the bad side of it. That shouldn't be happening at all.
But it's
No
like-
one should have an opinion on whether you should be fat or not. Like, no one should even have and that's the poor side of it. But it's just suggesting that it's a healthy way of living.
But this is the thing. I was on what does Australia really think about obesity?
Yeah.
And go watch that. It's an SBS documentary.
Yeah.
And they interview all different people of different sizes, doctors and everything. And it's like this is what we need to talk about in society is people's sizes is not determined by like how healthy they are or whatever. And so I know that you're like, I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
And that's because that's the experience that you've had.
Yeah.
But you don't literally know anyone else's experience.
Well, the
that's true.
the physical representation of a skinny person isn't necessarily healthy because
Exactly. And they
you
have
could
their
be
own- they might
anorexic,
have-
you could be
yeah.
a cokehead, you could be fucking crackhead, whatever. Like
That just might be their size.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. But the physical manifestation of poor health and poor nutrition is usually obese and overweight. So,
But that's because that's been marketed to you for such a long time.
well, also
And you-
what's been marketed to us is fucking poor health, like Captain Crunch. Fucking like there's.
I don't think we got Captain Crunch
Yeah,
in
yeah,
New South
I
Wales.
And we do look at like, you know, there's a
carbs
certain turning
and-
point. There's a certain turning point from, I think it is at the actual the addition of the food plate and the food pyramid at the time to our learning and educational culture, where there was an actual increase in obesity from that point.
Yeah.
So that's not to say that it's a bad thing that people are overweight. Like fuck it, like do whatever you want. But we can see there's a definite correlation between poor nutrition, lack of exercise, greed, fucking
Sedentary
entitlement,
lifestyle.
sedentary lifestyle, all of that, and the rise in obesity and overweight people.
And
So-
what's the biggest cause of death in the world is cardiovascular disease.
which is caused by
Poor health,
poor
poor
health,
nutrition.
poor nutrition.
So that's what I mean. Like the science behind a person that is morbidly obese or obese is that it is going to kill you faster.
But my thing is, right, if that's their choice.
But if they want to promote that as like fucking eat everything you want,
But isn't it
live
crazy?
a shitty lifestyle, and then people are going, oh, well, if they're going to do it.
yeah, that would be my
But then
only
it's
concern.
like, so
yeah.
I want to raise a son who trusts himself.
Yeah.
And the reason why we all don't trust ourselves is because we're told from such a young age not to trust ourselves. Like
Yeah.
our parent, like, do you know what I mean? Through the way that we're parented, the things that we've shown and this and that. But then, you know, when he's older, he's going to make his own choices. I want him to trust himself. Like, go to Lizzo. She's up there on stage. She's fucking rocking her thing. Like, how beautiful that she's her and she accepts herself exactly as she is.
Which I think is
Yeah.
completely
That's
fine.
super important.
I think
That's that, and that
that's-
to
yeah.
me is like way more important than fucking what she's eating on the snack bar
Yeah.
or this or that. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like it's about the person
100%.
and accepting. And like this is the thing, there's this whole talk around body positivity, and then positivity can be quite toxic, right? Toxic positivity and stuff. But for me, it's like what I coach women in and why I use my body to have conversations and me and my story is because I know that I've been able to live the best life that I can
Yeah.
because I accepted myself
Yeah.
in that moment. Because when I wasn't accepting myself, going back to, you know, when we were trying to talk about the stuff in the mirror and stuff, when I wasn't accepting myself,
Yeah.
that was when I had no love for myself. I treated myself like shit with the
Yeah.
words, the drinking, the
And that's
everything.
the disconnect
Yeah.
where you don't have love for yourself. You're not, and then
Yeah.
they're conflicting. Now that you're completely at one.
Yeah, but that's me. You
Yeah.
know, I've met people of all different shapes and sizes,
Yeah.
you know, who, like one of my really good friends, Peter, should be fucking epic for this podcast. She's in Melbourne, though, and she's in a wheelchair, so she can barely get anywhere, which is a whole other story on disabilities.
course.
It's fucking
Yeah, yeah.
crazy how, like, that she can only go to the toilet in 7 toilets around Australia, like, use them because of her, like,
One
with
in
her-
each state.
Yeah, well, and I think that I don't even know exactly where they are.
Fuck.
But anyway, like people are baffled at the fact that she's got cerebral palsy, she's in a wheelchair, that she accepts herself as
Yeah.
she is. Like, but why? Huh? What? Huh? Like, and everyone else's projection. She's like, but I genuinely love myself.
Yeah.
I genuinely love that and blessed that I'm in this wheelchair. And, you know, that is what I want my son to become. And that is what took me 38 years to become that. So
38. You look
yeah,
30,
I
babe.
know. I'm 39 in a couple of weeks. But, you know, so with Lizzo,
Yeah.
it's like she's just out there doing her thing.
Yeah.
And she's making other people start to accept themselves exactly as they are. Like that to me is like the conversation.
That's a great first step as well, I reckon, because the
I think-
accepting yourself for who you are and not judging yourself for what situation you're in. That's the first step to being, well, now I can make some positive changes to me.
If you want to.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
that's correct.
Like
but
if you want to,
and-
because again, that's your projection
Yes,
that they
yeah.
might need to do that.
No, exactly.
You know, like it's like why can't they just fucking live their life?
Is
like
there
that?
any form, do you think, I'm completely coming up with this
Yeah.
question on the spot based on what you said. Like if they go, I accept this is who I am, do you think there's a form of, what's the word? Not rejecting, but just almost like avoidance? Is that like, okay, I'm going to accept that I love myself for who I am, and now I can just neglect everything else and reject it because I'm cool with me.
I don't know if that would happen though, because you'd see.
What's the word?
Exactly.
Pretend that like when you're pretending something's not there.
Yeah.
Like,
But
does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's like I'm completely fine with it, and then you almost cut off every other thought, whether it be positive or negative, because you've got yourself.
So they disassociate.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if you'd see that, because you just mentioned it before. You said you addressed, like, you became okay with what was going on, and you already made those small little changes. You stopped drinking as much, and you stopped binging and so you automatically found you lost weight a little bit, and you started living a healthier life just because of the mental state. So that side of Lizzo saying, I accept who I am and stuff, that's fucking, that's incredible. That's the good, because that's the first step to, and I'm not necessarily saying you have to lose weight, because fuck, anyone can do anything. But yeah, the accepting that it is doing that and making those small incremental changes just because you feel better about yourself is going to reflect it.
But it might be not to lose
anyway.
weight that you want to do it.
Yeah,
it's like I've got friends that are, what you would classify as, if you looked at them and someone else was looking at them, they'd go, oh, they're fucking obese. I don't. I look at them and I'm like, I know the person, this and that. She runs a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? She's fitter than probably all of us three together.
Yeah.
And that is just...
Well, fitness.
Do you know what I mean? But then it's
fitness
like
and health are
it's like,
different,
but people, do you know what I mean? It's like this thing straight away. That's the first thing we want to focus on.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then try and tell them how to live their life. And it's like, well, ain't you fucking? What are you doing with your life?
Well,
like,
that was
you know what I mean? Like,
that was the biggest issue. Like, I pressed this sort of stuff in the podcast. So, like, live a nice, healthy balance in life. Do all this, do all that, and I wasn't living it myself. I was eating a fucking bar of chocolate and eating like shit, drinking all the time.
Why does it matter if you eat a bar of chocolate? I eat one piece of like chocolate every day at night time, and it's so fucking.
As
good.
in, so there's nothing wrong with doing that. But then the way I was feeling after, I was feeling lethargic. I was feeling shit. I wasn't sleeping as well. I wasn't eating as well, so I couldn't exercise as well. I couldn't breathe as well. Not everything was affected by what I was eating.
Yeah.
So by just making some very small changes, that made everything else feel better, which made me feel better. And then as a great byproduct, I started slimming down. I looked better, which I didn't, and I've said this plenty of times.
Isn't it funny what you just said? I looked better.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say better. I looked fitter or more. I guess.
Or more like what the world expects of you.
Well, I just looked fitter, healthier.
Yeah.
And so, but that was just my that's just a byproduct of feeling better. That's what it was. So it ended up being the changes that I made. Now I can just be more productive with my day. I can spend more time and be more present with my daughter. There's
and that's
so many.
You. And that's what I love about that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's like. We don't know all these things that are going on in other people's houses. Like, so for me, I love that you talk about the 1%ers, because that's a massive thing that I coach and teach with everyone that I work with, where it's business or, body acceptance and that kind of stuff. But for me, it's not those 1%. I actually got this from a dietitian because I was obsessed with going on diets and all this. If you read my book, Drunk on Confidence, but he said it's the 1%ers. And I was like, oh, that feels so negative to me. Because he would be like, well, what are you eating, those 1%ers, when you've like written down your food diary here? And I was like, well, actually, I probably had a bite of that cake and this and that. And then I was like, well, how can I turn the 1%ers in to suit my life? And so I now use them to make 1% changes. Like, I turn my phone off in the morning so I can connect with my son.
Yeah.
I have that 1% where I'm like, oh, I want to start a new class. So I did Pilates, like the higher level one yesterday.
Sick, yeah.
And it's like that 1% change for me to be better every single day isn't just about food and all that. It was so much about my mindset, and it really started with understanding how we started these podcasts, like those inner mean girls. Because once we start to know them, hear them, meet them, then we start to really understand like what we're seeing in the mirror. So then we can decide if we want to make a change, whatever that is, to understand ourselves better, to go to a psychologist, to go to a Pilates class, to go to this, to go to whatever. If you want to fucking go on a diet, go on a diet. That's fine. That's your shit. You know, that's your story. That's where I'm very much like so passionate about it. Like, it's so much more, you know, than...
Because diet... like diets themselves don't. They're
But you
yeah.
literally, they are made for you to fail.
Yeah, 100%.
They're made for you to fail.
And you see in lobbying and what's happened with the food industries, obviously over the last 50 years, it's just been ridiculous. Now it's so hard to be healthy.
And it's expensive to eat fresh meat,
meat.
Yeah.
I've just gone from vegetarian to meat, and it's
so
Why?
expensive.
You had a vegan on here
We
the
had
other
a
day, didn't you?
carnivore diet on. And
carnivore, vegan. We just get on to everyone.
Yeah, I love that.
We had Tash
It's good.
Peterson on.
Yeah.
Do you know her? The one that does all the vegan protests.
Oh,
And
yeah, she was on the, I think she was one that I was watching. Yeah.
So, like,
she wears less than you guys.
Damn, I've got competition.
Yeah, you do, legit.
but yeah, where was I going with that one?
Sorry, we got distracted.
The food pyramid
yeah.
and it's hard to
Oh
eat.
my
yeah,
God,
so it
the
is
food
fucking so
pyramid.
changed. Yeah,
It's like seriously the food pyramid, guys. Like, come on. Do you believe it?
scheme.
No, fuck
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's
this is
and that's
isn't
the issue,
interesting
isn't it?
how
Yeah.
you question some of these things, right?
Yeah.
Which I really love because I feel like we should question everything.
Yeah.
But then it's like, we're still projecting all these things that we were taught from when we were really young onto like our thoughts as adults.
Yeah.
But have I swayed you at all with like Lizzo? Still feel like
not
you might,
really, because
no?
I still think that I think her message is fine. I just think that I just don't know if
Is she pushing it as a healthy
no,
lifestyle?
she's pushing it as body positivity.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I got no issues with that.
And why can't she be?
And also, she said her music isn't for white people, so she's
Oh,
racist.
really?
Yeah.
No. But we just will probably never get it. Like,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and also they tell you to niche down, like when you're marketing yourself. So,
Yeah.
you pick
Can
one.
you imagine if I said this podcast isn't for black people?
Oh my God!
Like,
do
that
not
would
say
be-
that.
See, this-
Black people we love
see-
you. We want you to listen
You
and
know,
watch.
like if you flip the
yeah.
the script.
Yeah, the irony.
But anyway, that said, I completely agree, and I think when it comes down to it, we all agree on the same message, which is to be happy. It's nothing to do with your body weight, your size, your fucking how many legs work. If you've got an extra fucking finger, which he did,
Yeah.
right? It comes down to you being okay with who you are and knowing how to deal with the negative self-talk and basically ego. Really.
Yeah.
And when you can consolidate that you're living your truth. I sound like such a fucking white girl.
Mate, you have had an awakening.
Well, so that's
when everything connects and you're living like solidarity and your truth and the voices and you can deal with it and everything is okay, then from there you've got your own pyramid, but it's like your self-confidence pyramid to build your blocks from. If you can't deal with any of that negativity, criticism, blah, blah, then you're never going to progress forward.
And do you know what I think is the biggest factor in the demonization of both sides? It's that it's this division that's being created, and it's the extreme of both sides.
Yeah.
Instead of like,
Which I'm guilty of for sure.
Oh yeah, and we can.
I
be
looked at
sometimes.
Lizzo and gone, she's not fucking, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm aware of me,
Yeah.
of my own traumas and interpretation and understanding of what I believe to be healthy.
But having an open dialogue with people with opposing.
We're never
Yes.
going to make changes if we don't for sometimes I do get passionate and I'm like, how can you, you're
It's
fat
hard,
shaming.
yeah.
Like, do you know, how can you not fucking see that?
Yeah.
And it's like, because there's this whole, phobia of being fat. And it's like and people find it really hard to accept people when they say like, I actually love being fat. Like I get called plus size. I'm like, yeah, that's what, like, if that's what you want to label me, whatever, I'm just Heidi. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, I believe, to like sum up with what you said, we all come into this world as perfect little humans, right?
I was dead, so I
Well,
was dead
okay.
perfect.
But like whatever way, however, like,
Yeah.
and then what happens is I believe we all have confidence as well from this really young, tiny little age to take our first breath, to walk our first walk, to ride our first bike, to do all these things. We have to like continuously have this confidence, and then we go out into the world and we hear parents in the, I think a lot of people don't even
Learned
realize
behaviour.
their words in their household. They're like, I'm not judgmental of other people, but then the way that they're judging themselves or their partner. And then it's like, as kids, then we just lose it all. And then we end up in a society where it's like we don't trust ourselves, we don't like ourselves. We've got like everyone's like negative opinions about the way that we should look. And it's like, I'm so much more than that.
Negative energy as well, like that.
Yeah.
And you see it, and it's not even like people think it's a woo-woo experiment, that rice thing, where you put the love on one rice
Oh, wait,
jar
what's
and
this?
Have you seen it? It's pretty
No.
cool.
It's a real
Do you wanna
thing as
explain it
well.
real
Yeah,
quick?
so you
Yeah.
like, and I've done this.
2
and it's
jars of
worked.
rice?
2 jars of rice, same
Yeah.
position in the house, and you put love on one and hate on the other.
And you say
you
words
say-
of love to one rice.
I've done that with
And
the
that you
plants.
hate it.
Yeah,
If you
and
like.
and one dies and goes all like brown and mouldy and
Yeah.
shit, and the other one a little bit, but nothing, fuck all. And it's like it's reflective of the energy that you're putting into
Yeah.
the words. Even you see it in the ice shards.
It only
I think
works on Asian children's families.
Did I send you the ice shards one?
Yeah,
So the-
I've
the-
read that as there's a book called something of water or God in water or something like that.
That's
It's all
incredible.
about that, the way that different words influence how water forms
Yeah,
crystals.
Yeah.
so it was.
Yeah, that was on Gaia or
Yeah.
yeah.
Gaia
the-
TV.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the words that they were saying, so for example, you can do it versus do it.
Yeah.
The two changes in the ice shards in the sheets were completely different. One was like you can; it was a positive affirmation of like you can do this.
Yeah.
The other one was telling, do it.
Yes.
So
I
and
was
that,
sponsored by Nike.
and so if we so if we see if we can see that words can impact just a fucking shard of water that's frozen.
Oh yeah, so we should make clear that saying you can do it to water, it froze in a nice geometric, like
Beautiful, like flower.
visually stimulating what we have learned
Yes.
to be pretty.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the other one would do it, it was disjointed and what we've learnt
To be.
to be ugly or
chaos.
Or, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if we're seeing these things play out just in a shard of glass, imagine the negative impact of constantly being told what you have to do, told what
Yeah.
you have to think, instead of like you can do this. And I've written an article about this on our website called
What, you
Choice.
guys got a website?
Yeah, fancy.
Choice.
Very, not used very
I
often.
wrote an
but-
article. Hey.
Choice is
Yeah.
our superpower, and I think like making choices
Yeah.
in life and having the freedom to make our own choices and make mistakes and learn
Yes.
from them is fucking our biggest superpower that we
I love
have.
that.
Because if you take that away from us, our freedom of choice and freedom of responsibility, what do we become? Like a fucking robot just following
Yeah.
the rules, and then you feel restricted and you feel like you're not in control of your life. So
Yeah.
I think positive words, positive affirmations to your kids as they're growing is huge, because they grow up, they start this innocent child.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something to it that people say that they can see ghosts and stuff when they're
Oh my
younger.
God, that's a whole other topic for another day with my little boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
is
yeah.
this
Well,
stuff?
Yeah.
well, Scotty came through last night and told me there was someone in a room.
Can we talk
talking
about
to her.
it? Do you want to talk
Stop.
about it?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Last night.
Oh, you-
Really?
Yeah, there was a little boy in her room last night talking to her.
Oh my God, I just got goosebumps.
Was it Memphis? Where was he last night?
Memphis, you naughty little
Yeah,
boy.
literally last night she came through.
Did she describe who it was?
No, just said little. She said a little boy on the end of her bed.
Oh my God, see, I always used to have something on the end of my bed as well. And I used to have this imaginary friend.
Hmm.
And now I look back, I'm like, that wasn't fucking imaginary. Like
Yeah.
I had, but so Memph, we moved into this house when I was pregnant.
What
I was
area?
working, so up at Mullaloo. And I remember we moved in and the guy was a stoner. He loved his like weed because we found his bong out in the back. Anyway, when he left, he goes, oh, good luck with your friends in there. Literally, I was like, oh my God, pregnant. I was fucking
Oh,
petrified
fuck.
of ghosts. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like watching all those scary movies and
Yeah.
stuff. Never want to be left alone with ghosts. Like they might
Yeah.
hurt me. I'm
Yeah.
not scared of robbers, fucking ghosts.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just like, whoa, fuck, what does he mean? So I messaged him. I was like, what do you mean? And he said, there's a bloke out the back. And I was like, no. Anyway, got my friend to come over. She said she felt some stuff, but we cleared the house, all this
Saged,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, then when Memphis was maybe like 18 months old, he just started waving out the back
Oh.
one day. And I was like, who are you waving to, Memph? And he's like, that man. And I was like,
Oh, and no one
what
was there?
man? Anyway, in this corner where he was waving, we were constantly having electrical issues.
Oh my
husband's
gosh.
a Sparky.
Yeah.
Inside the house.
No, so this
Oh,
is
in
just on the back veranda. Like
Yeah.
we've got a beautiful area that's like Bali. It's pretty much like you walk out the back and go to Bali.
Yeah.
And so there's this one area that would always like, when it would have been an electrical storm or rain or whatever, that it would trip out in that corner.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you this because then I got introduced to this psychic lady medium who is next level. So I ended up going to her, and a week before I went to her, I knew that Memphis had been waving to this guy and I was trying to ignore it. I did a meditation out the back and I was calling in my guardian angels. And I said, like, what's your name? And I wrote Michael. Anyway, went to my psychic lady. She was like, okay, I'll come and do a proper house, and she goes, I'm actually doing this thing to you right now. So when you get home, I'm going to let him know that I'm coming. But she goes, I think he's trapped in your house. Like, he can't get out. He's trapped in between worlds. I'm like, okay, this is getting fucking hectic. Like, do I believe this? My logical brain's going like, oh my God, Heidi, stop it. But your little boy's been talking. Yeah. She gets to the house and she's like, oh, blah, 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 talking to him. She's like, Michael.
Oh, yes.
That name that and I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, Memphis, literally this is a week and a half ago, we're in the pool and he started waving. And I was like,
he's back.
And he goes, Mum, Michael.
Oh!
Because now he's 3.5. And I'm like, what? He goes, he doesn't live here anymore. He goes, but
he said this to Memphis.
Yeah, no, he said this. He goes, he doesn't live here anymore. Because she told me she'd moved him on. He goes, but he just came back to say that I had looked after you when he needed it and he was outside my door. And I'm like,
he said that to Memphis?
No, Memphis said that to me.
You.
Because he's like, I have these little conversations with him. So he goes, he came back, Mum, just to say that he'd looked after me the other day.
What the fuck?
Just then, and then, mate, I've got stories because then he started talking about my nan recently.
Yeah?
He was having a conversation with my nan.
Memphis was having a chat?
Then we were on the plane and I'm crying, like watching Elvis, which was my nan's favourite guy.
Yeah.
And Memphis just looked at me and he goes, that was Nanny Brenda that day at the park when we saw all those white feathers. And I was like, just randomly, what? I was like, did she just tell you that then? And he goes, oh, she comes to me all the time.
Has he met her before?
Never.
So she died.
We showed him one photo and we've definitely talked about her. We've talked about her. But when all this stuff started happening with my nan, it was probably maybe like nearly a year since we'd had any kind of talk around her.
Yeah.
And I'd asked for a sign of white feathers to say that Griffo and I were going to be okay and all the relationship stuff we were going through. And we went to Hillary's one morning, Memph and I, and there was hundreds of white feathers. So then him saying that, I was like, what the fuck?
Fucking hell.
That's
But
awesome.
so
Try and
I-
make sure he doesn't lose that.
Well, that
Encourage
was,
him.
I try and talk to him about it all the time, but he gets like, because he's 3.5, he kind of questions what he's like saying these weird adult things.
So potentially, and this goes back to what we were just talking about, like the negative words having impact. Potentially, the way you're talking to your son and the way you're giving him maybe potentially positive. I don't know how you talk to him, but I'm assuming very positive and reinforcing sort of talk.
Trust
potentially,
yourself.
It's keeping him innocent, and he's able to see through veils or whatever. I'm not going into
Makes
a woo-woo unscientific area there, but I don't know. It's just it's interesting that you can see it physically represent it within a shard of ice.
Yes.
If we can see it physically represent, there's got to be something going on there.
There's
So
gotta be.
that negative talk, but I think going back to that whole Lizzo thing, I think that's great that we can sort of agree that probably the most unhealthy aspect of the whole thing is the shaming of everything, because it does create the mental health side of things that is not required. And as we can see now, it's not just fucking young boys. Young girls obviously cop it really bad. We just see it fucking in America with the school shooting, and we can't just
But it's
blame.
like, where is it coming from?
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's like, it's the parents and all that. That's, like I said, a whole other level of, I think people all the time go, oh, all this bullying online and this and that. And I'm like, but have you seen the comment section of adults? It's, and I think people are very unaware of what they say. And so that's why I'm like, just really become aware of how you're even speaking to yourself and how you're speaking to your partner, because they're, picking up on all that too.
I've recently been doing it just because with this leap of faith thing, instead of going,
I love that you're on a leap of faith.
I've been wanting to send in a text something like, it's fun, it's risky, I'm probably going to be poor for a while, and then I go, I'll be fine, I'll make money, or something like that. I've been replacing
manifestation.
Manifestation, but also like, why the fuck am I thinking I'm probably going to be poor? Because if I start thinking that, I fucking will. I'll recognise opportunities to be poor instead of recognising opportunities to make money. And it's not necessarily for me making money. I've got in my head life balance, and I've already fucking won because my daughter's at school now, 5 days a week. Except for the first year where I was sort of working 2 jobs, from 1 till 4, I got to see a huge amount. So I've already won. If my business failed, and it won't, it'll fucking thrive.
Yeah,
and this
boy.
podcast
It's going to be sponsoring this podcast.
This podcast will be going full time, and we'll be making fucking squillions. But
we're already making squillions.
Yes, we are. We are.
I've already won. I've already won because I got that extra time with my daughter. Like, I was so upset when I was at work, fucking welding stuff.
Yes.
And my wife at the time would message me a video of my daughter's first step or first smile. And I missed it because I'm at work. And I still didn't get everything once I was working from home and doing my own thing. But like it just provided so many more opportunities. I get to pick up my daughter every fucking day from school and drop her off because Steph's work's a bit more rigid. So even when it's not my day, I get to see Scotty for an extra 2 hours. Like it's my little cheeky.
I love it. And I love her name as well.
Scotty, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Heidi's got about 7 minutes. I feel like this has been a
What
good
time is it? I don't even know what time it is.
11:50.
Yeah, and like, do you have a toilet here as
Five.
well?
Oh, yeah, it's not that great.
Have
But
you guys
so I
cleaned
got-
it?
yeah, well, I just did. Because
For me?
because Wolfie does not, and me and Delby don't. So
Who's Wolfie?
He's a stand-up comedian.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was
he's
like,
awesome.
I heard that name.
He does the he originally owned this place. Yeah, with that. So and we've sort of
just
Wolfie's
commandeered it.
sponsoring.
yeah.
But well, yeah. Okay, so to finish, I think that we.
Did I answer all your questions?
I think we've
Yeah.
done
I
pretty
feel
well.
like we should do another part too because it's just a good discussion because I feel like you've got a lot more to offer.
I got so much to say.
Because it ended up being like you guys
Vibing.
which
We're
is fine.
creating
Like
chemistry.
yeah.
Hey, did you not think we had chemistry as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
vibe?
But
yeah.
I think I think what we've done, these conversations are very important between people who, and we need to see more of it in the world. People who disagree because we've found straight away a middle ground where we all agree that like the biggest damaging part of the whole fat shaming thing is the fat shaming itself. It's not the
fat shaming comes from being something wrong within that person that's doing.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt the need to comment on someone going, "Oh, you fat fuck!" Like
Yeah.
But
or
did
like,
you think it?
Sometimes.
And that's where it's like challenging that, right?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Why do you think that?
Yeah.
Like they're the questions. Like it's like, because we have these thoughts, beliefs, and it's like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah. But also, like, I feel like there's some science that just demonstrates what is optimal
Health.
for your body
Yeah.
at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Optimal functioning.
Yeah.
And like I said, making those changes
I
has
guess
made
that
me
depends
feel
what doctors and scientists you listen to.
yeah.
and what fucking funding.
Well, it
they've
comes
had.
down to Physical 100. Have you watched that on Netflix?
No,
Check
but
it
I've
out.
heard about
Oh,
that.
bro,
Because
yeah.
the big dude gets pretty far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He's super athletic, man.
Yeah, I think the best one was the one who got so far. He was like pretty soft, like as in soft body. He wasn't like the ideal ripped fucking body. I can't even remember what he did. He was like a tobogganist or something.
Yeah, the skeleton guy.
Yeah, that guy. And so, but just had this physical strength of like and speed. He wasn't ripped as
He
fuck.
is one of the greatest.
Now, again, fitness does not necessarily mean health because Ben Cousins could fucking run around
that's
on
true
crack.
as well.
Like, so fitness
You
and...
should get him on the pod.
Yeah,
We're
well, no,
trying.
I messaged him
Be
last
good.
night and fucking left me on red, cunt.
What does that mean, left you on red?
Didn't
Like his
answer.
Reddit. Like, you can
Oh,
see the
red. I was like,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
red like a new thing?
Like a red colour?
Yeah.
So before we're going to do the intro in post.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we'll quickly do anything you want to plug, closing message.
Yep.
And then we'll finish, and then we'll talk about what we talked about.
Yeah.
So,
So your book and
yeah, your
stuff
book,
like that, yeah.
your
Well,
courses.
I mean, you'd probably give it the best testimonial.
Yeah. So it's called Drunk on Confidence. You
Yeah.
can get it on Audible. It's a good, easy listen. And
I read it myself.
yeah.
So if you're not over my voice.
yeah, Heidi reads it out, and it'll give you more context for the next time that we have Heidi back on as well.
Yeah.
Because we only touched on it a little bit.
Oh, no, I really...
It's what happens when it's a good organic conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
hearing people as well,
And
like,
I-
and hearing each other's opinions.
Yeah, I like it. I've actually really enjoyed today's episode. It was
Yeah.
just... I didn't know how it was all going to go, so I'm...
Did you think me and Delby were going to beat the shit out of each
Because
other?
I like to be the level head a little bit sometimes, but I think it went really well. It
Yeah,
was good.
I just think it's good because I vibe every time we've caught up.
Yeah.
Or every time we've met, it's been easy to chat.
Yeah.
And I think that what you're doing is worthy of having a chat about.
Well,
and
thank you.
also, like, I want to hear. We still need to hear more, I think.
Yeah.
Because we
Well,
didn't
go
really touch
read
on
my
it.
book or
Yeah.
listen to it. and then get me, not you, but like the people, they can go, you know, go
questions
check it out.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get the book as well, and I'll have a read.
What, you didn't bloody read
No,
it?
because we like to. Well,
No,
okay,
honestly,
I'm going to say
you don't need.
I'm
you
lazy.
Don't need to. No, you don't need to.
No, I'm lazy.
But it'd be
but
good for you, maybe raising a daughter as well.
yeah, and it's also good, like, for one of us to have no context and no idea,
Oh,
because
yes,
then I can
you're
ask the questions.
surprised.
Yes,
Yeah,
well, I can
one of
ask.
us goes in blind and the other one knows more, tends to, yeah.
Sounds
But
like
what
a
else?
radio show I used to work on.
Have you got any, because we got quite a few female listeners.
Yeah,
Oh,
surprisingly.
hey,
Yeah.
ladies.
Is there any things that you want to plug, like any
Send
courses?
me a message
Yep.
on Instagram
Yep.
at _ Heidi Anderson. DMs are always open.
Cool.
Let us know what you think of today, you know, your thoughts. But I guess the biggest thing that I want people to think about is kind of what I said to you, because this has been the work for me.
Yeah.
Is like when I have these thoughts or judgments about myself or other people, like where are they actually coming from?
Yeah.
And that's the work that I did just last weekend in my workshop. It's like when you're hearing your inner critic, who is it?
Yeah.
Like, was it your mum from when you were 5? Was
Yeah.
it your brother? Was it your friend? Was it someone that hated you? Was it me? Like, you know, was I mean to you? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and then you create this, because for mine I was always going to be like successful if I was skinny.
Yeah, right.
And that was the story that I created.
Which
but,
isn't the yeah.
But, you
Yeah.
know, and so it's like, dive deeper into that. Because once you do, then you start to understand yourself. And for me, that has opened so many doors for me of like anything is possible.
Yeah.
Me changing as a person to live the best life that I can every
Yeah.
single day and then raise my son. It's been a game changer.
I will totally attest to that, because I never got fat. I wouldn't say fat, but if you see my before and afters, I was dad body, and I've lost about 10 kilos.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty ripped at the moment, I guess, without sounding too arrogant. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I said to myself, why are you looking in the mirror? And then I also said, what difference does it make now? You're happy with your body, but you still, there's still something else. It's that you're great. That's, for me, it's just one less thing I have to sort of think about, I guess. But
it's like, where is that coming from?
Yeah, and what did the body add to
I think it's coming
anything?
from for you. Like, it can even be a past version of yourself that's no longer relevant to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You used
because
to be a
when
professional footy player.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then
Semi-professional.
that chat, that voice, that's not you anymore. It's changed, and you're holding on to who you were.
100%.
Yeah.
I definitely, I remember, it was not last night, it was a couple of nights ago, and I remember, what the fuck does it matter?
Yeah.
Like,
But this
I
happens
feel
with-
great, and I'm glad, but fuck, what does it matter how I
happens with
look?
all the women as well. Like that you were saying that listen to this. Like how many of us, I bet, go back and we look at all these old photos of ourselves, and it's like, and then we're beating ourselves up because we don't look the same as we did 10 years ago. We've had 3 kids. We might not have even had 3 kids, and we're like, oh, my hips have gotten bigger and this and that, and it's like, it's like we fucking change. Like, what size I am today, I could be totally different in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I fluctuate from what I'm doing, how you know. But it's like, but we'll go back and we'll get so critical on those photos of like for our past versions, and then you know, then we end up looking back and we go, fuck, I didn't even look that bad. I looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Context.
Anyway, I could talk for so
Yeah,
long
well,
with
you
you
got to
guys.
go in a sec. So
I know, and I've got to pee.
Oh, yeah, I got to
I
pee.
don't
So
even think I looked at the camera. Where is it? Oh,
there you
hey.
go.
Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Brow game's strong.
And